Bring in Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, who has co-sponsored a unanimous resolution last month to end anti-Semitism on our country's college campuses. Senator, let's tackle the money question first. The White House notified Congress last Tuesday about the $320 million worth of specifically precision-guided weapon systems it will send to Israel. And now the House has voted to advance that $14.5 billion in military aid to Israel. Do you see that number as adequate, too much, too little?
What we know is that the IDF will tell us what they need. Israel will tell us what they need. They've been very specific. And because of that, and because you've got this $320 million package, you've got the $14.5 billion package, these things need to go immediately. And we need to make certain Israel has what they need to defend themselves, to fight this war, and to eradicate Hamas from the face of the earth.
Your cohort, your colleague in the Senate, Lindsey Graham, has said that it probably won't pass because it doesn't include, I'm talking about the $14.5 billion that the House was able to pass, because it does not include Ukraine. He feels it's very important to include Ukraine in a funding package because the enemies are very similar. Russia. If you don't send a message to Russia, he would argue, then Taiwan is next. Those are his words. China will invade Taiwan. Obviously, Hamas is a terror group, so Israel needs to be handled as well. Where do you stand on allowing a package that would include both Ukraine and Israel?
Liz, I think we need to send to Israel immediately. As I said, Israel is very specific in their needs. Then let's take up Ukraine and the border funding. Of course, that needs to be addressed. We have got to have some transparency around the funding for Ukraine. No one wants Vladimir Putin to win. We want to make certain that Ukraine has what they need. What we need some clarification on is where are things in the pipeline? We have already appropriated, I think it's $75 billion in total in aid, humanitarian, governmental, and military aid for Ukraine. You've got those different buckets. So let's do this. Let's get in there and see what is in process, where is all the humanitarian aid, and that is going to take us a little bit longer. Israel needs their money today.
I was just going to say that this war, so far away, is causing such divisiveness here in America. You were able to get a bipartisan resolution passed. And of course, you had two Democrats on board, Jackie Rosen of Nevada and Chris Van Hollen of Maryland, with you, along with James Lankford, the Republican from Oklahoma. And it's a resolution, and it decries anti-Semitism at universities. But since then, we have watched as students have been arrested for violently threatening or attacking Jewish students. I mean, just the other day, a UMass Amherst student spit on an Israeli flag and then punched a Jewish student in the face at an event. And I believe the event was for one of those Bring Home the Hostages events. I mean, this is an event saying hostages need to come home, American hostages, not to mention what was going on in Cornell with the student, Patrick Day, who was arrested for allegedly posting threats about slitting Jewish students' throats at Cornell. Now, that's a federal case that he now faces. How did we get here, and how do you put teeth into your resolution without extinguishing free speech?
And what we have to be certain is that these students realize when they are saying pro-Hamas, they are saying pro-terrorist. And it is inconceivable that this soon after 9/11 occurred on U.S. soil, that you would have professors in universities, that you would have college campuses allowing this. And Liz, as you well know, the U.S. recognizes Hamas as a terrorist organization. That is their official recognition. And the fact that universities would allow this is just unbelievable. It's so disturbing. And it's why we have a piece of legislation also that would deport students who are on visas, who have participated in pro-Hamas rallies. Also, these college campuses that are allowing this, it would cut their federal funding. That's another piece of legislation. Senator Tim Scott has that. And the resolution that Senator Rosen and I passed, and it was unanimous in the U.S. Senate.
Excellent.
We did this to send that message to the college campuses that this anti-Semitic activity is not going to be tolerated. We are watching, we're paying attention to this. And as I said, the follow-ons for that, Senator Rubio's deportation legislation, Senator Scott's defunding legislation, those are steps that the U.S. Senate will take on a bipartisan basis.
When you get a student visa to come to this country, that is a gift. And you have to be vetted initially for whether you have espoused terrorist ideas. That's when you're coming in. But it can also be retroactive. If you are here already on a student visa, because I've looked into the law here, and you start saying, yay, Hamas, that was creative, that was innovative of you to slaughter 1,300 Israeli and foreign civilians and chop people's heads off. It looks to me like it's in the rule books that you could actually deport those students if proven to be true. Let me just then circle this square by saying, how did we get here? And TikTok, I'm not necessarily one of these TikTok bashers, but Scott Galloway, the professor at NYU, said something really interesting on his Pivot podcast. He said, I think after the initial blast zone of drama that we've seen here, we will find out down the road that it was Chinese government trying to use TikTok to divide our people here in the United States. Is there any validity that you see to that?
There is validity to that. We've seen them do it before. We've seen them try to do election influencing in this. We see them do societal influencing in this. Indeed, many of the kids, I was talking with a Tennessee mom, and she said, you've got all of these kids that say, I'm pro-Hamas. And they're getting it on TikTok, not realizing that Hamas, as you said, killed all of these Israelis. They've killed Americans. They have taken Israelis and Americans hostage. Their goal is to destroy Israel and to destroy America. And you have got to have adults who are going to say, hey, this is what this really means. Yeah. And you need to be careful about this. I do think it is helpful that now you have so many companies saying, we do not want to hire people who carry these thoughts and who hold these opinions. And I think it's also highlighting the number of terrorists that are coming across the southern border. It all gets looped together, Liz, and people are paying attention to it. And you've got these young people that are out here basically cheering for the wrong side.
Well, it's horrifying, but, you know, shame on Columbia president and University of Pennsylvania, Harvard, for not understanding what's going on. They're supposed to be the adults in the room. Senator Blackburn, thank you very much.